Hey guys, it's me Dax at the end of my my 2-day Mind Map 2 program. As usual, I normally spend the day in kind of semi-isolation, just decompressing and kind of getting my brain back after 2 days of non-stop speaking about neuroscience and kind of all of its applications. I'm usually a bit burnt out, as I am at the moment. So I'm here in Seattle, and I've had the day off, and I just remembered to kind of add these last couple of sections to the program that I didn't necessarily speak about very much. I think I alluded to them quite a lot during the program, but I didn't necessarily get down to the nitty-gritty of this. And essentially, you know, we're speaking about all of the different aspects of coaching people, and you know, how to coach them and what to coach them through. We covered a hell of a lot of stuff, but what we didn't cover was who the ideal coaching client is, like how to select your clients in terms of who the best fit for you and your coaching are going to be. Okay, so just wanted to take literally just a couple of minutes and speak to you about that. So who is the ideal coaching client? Well, I think it's really quite simple. Picking your ideal coaching client really comes down to a couple of really simple things, but you can forget the demographics. You can forget the idea of how old they are, where they live, how much money they've got, and all that kind of stuff, right? And at least initially, it's the least important part of it. But what becomes really important, and particularly because with life coaching and with mind map coaching, what we're really talking about is the psychographics. So it becomes really important to understand the psychographics of your clients. And in this case, then, when we're talking about psychographics, what we're really talking about are things like their biggest fears. Like, what are the things that your clients are most fearful of in life right now? What is it that they're most scared about? What are the things that are keeping them up late at night, and the things that are preventing them from kind of having the kind of life that they most want to have? Okay, because if you actually understand what their biggest fears are, you can speak to them through both the marketing for your coaching, but also the actual coaching itself. Like, you know, if you think about the mind map approach is all about threat, and threat is all about really about the things that you fear, right? So what are the biggest fears that are showing up in your client's life? If you can actually match the coaching story to that, if you can match even the marketing of the coaching story to that, then you are absolutely, definitely getting on their radar. Okay, so think about it from that perspective first. Like, what are their biggest fears? So for example, a lot of my clients they generally tend to be kind of 40-plus-year-old women, and their biggest fears are usually related to something very different to what we think they are. Their biggest fears aren't superficially look like I am not ever going to lose weight, right? So it looks like that. It's the weight loss coaching story. But what it all kind of turns out to be is that their biggest fears are related to never getting their 28-year-old body back, and their biggest fears are related to their husbands not loving them anymore and not finding them attractive, and eventually running off and finding somebody else, right? If we kind of look at the whole thing, that really is what the biggest fears of many of my 40-plus-year-old clients are. Really, it's what they're most worried about, right? So what are the biggest fears of your client base? What are the biggest fears of the people that you most want to work with? Get clear on that, and you'll have a much bigger impact. Next, what are their biggest frustrations? Okay, so distinctly different from a fear, but it's still like a frustration, something that pisses you off, something that winds you up, something that gets on your nerves a lot. So if I come back to my own client base, their biggest frustrations are being told to do exercise programs that take too much time and are too invasive on their life, being asked to follow diets that are too restrictive and make life really, really difficult for them, being given distinctly differing advice from maybe one program to the next, or to being given different advice from even within the same program. Like, you might be telling them never do this, and then later on in the program you tell them that it's really important that you do that. It's really important that you actually look after yourself and don't stress out. And then you find out that actually a huge frustration, a huge stress point for them is how much work you've asked them to do and how many changes you've asked them to incorporate into their life at the same time. So you're telling them on the one hand to cut their stress down, and on the other hand you yourself are actually bringing stress into their life. Okay, so that's an important one to take into account. What are the biggest frustrations for your clients? Next, what are their dreams and desires? What do they really want? Now, if I've been doing this for a long time now, and I've been privy to not only my own clients, but the clients of the coaches that work for me, and many thousands of people that have been through my online programs now. And what often comes up for the 40-plus-year-old woman, kind of 45 years plus, is that essentially their dreams and desires, the superficial stuff, relates to wanting their 28-year-old body back. Okay, but what is that about? Because the thing is never the thing. So what do they really want underneath that? They want to feel sexy and attractive and desired and wanted and loved and cared for and everything else. What are the dreams and desires of your clients? For the ideal person that you're looking for, do you even know what their dreams and desires are? Because here's the thing, it's really hard, if we just bring it back to marketing again, it's really hard to market to and for someone that you don't have an idea on what they want, right? Let's take marketing back to a really simple concept. You're in a marketplace. You are selling apples, and you're polishing the apples up, and you're selling them to the public. The public know what they're buying, okay? You're a farmer that sells apples. People come along, they see that you're selling apples, they say, hey, I'm looking for an apple right now. I'll buy that one, right? Really, really simple. With coaching, it's often not very clear either what you're selling or what they're buying. So, of course, they're walking through the marketplace saying, I haven't got a clue what it is that you're trying to sell me. I think I'm trying to buy a weight loss program. You're telling me it's all about something completely different. So we've got to find ways to actually meet people in their fears, in their frustrations, in their dreams, and in their desires, because that's how they know what kind of apples we're selling. If we're not really clear about those things, it's very easy to kind of, a big phrase that was going about over the course of this weekend, a big kind of point that I kept putting out to the coaches on the weekend, was that the thing is not the thing. Okay, your fears are not about the superficial fear. If you've got fear of flying, it's not about flying, it's about something else. If you've got frustrations about a certain thing, it's not about the thing, it's about the thing behind the thing. If you've got dreams and desires for something, it's not about that, but it's about how you want to feel. Are you clear as a coach what it is that you're doing in terms of allaying fears and frustrations, and in terms of helping people to get to their dreams and desires? Are you really clear about that? Okay, how specifically can you help people get help with these areas? How does your program specifically deal with their biggest fears? How does your program specifically deal with their biggest frustrations? How does your program specifically deal with their dreams and desires? And again, if you're not clear on that, it's really hard to sell that in the marketplace. And when I say sell, I don't just mean sell it as in making money, but that too, because we want to make money. But I mean sell the concept as in sell the person in on the idea that, hey Dax, I really want to work with you because you seem to understand me. Because let's make no mistake about this, that's what we're really talking about here. If I can talk to you about your biggest fears, frustrations, dreams and desires, you automatically are going to believe that I've got the answers, which of course I have, right? Because I've taken the time to really understand you. If I understand you, I'm the best person to work with. Okay, hopefully that makes some sense, right? So that's who is your ideal client. But now let's continue that journey on just a bit. Who is your anti-coaching client? Okay, who is it that you don't want? And now, I think in the past even I've made it seem almost like who you don't want is more to do with them, and actually it's about you. Okay, who you don't want as your coaching client is actually much more about you. So don't look to the client for this. Like, don't look to the client for the anti-client. Don't say, I don't want people who aren't going to take me seriously, and I don't want people who aren't going to be like this. Look to yourself. And it looks like this. What are your biggest fears around coaching? Right? What are your biggest fears around coaching? Maybe it's not being taken seriously. Maybe it's not having all the answers. Okay, so now that tells you that actually there are certain types of people that you might be intimidated by. Like, let's say you are really intimidated by logic thinking people that are looking for all the I's dotted and the T's crossed, and they're looking for all the research. Okay, well, if your biggest fear is around kind of all of that side of things, then you know not to take on those clients. So by extension, we're kind of saying, well, this helps you know who not to take on, but it's really about you. It's not about them. Okay, what about your biggest frustrations? How do you tend to get frustrated most easily, and who frustrates you most? It's about you again, not about them. So let's not put the issue out there. Focus on yourself. Like, if there's a recipe for you becoming frustrated, what does it look like? Okay, so a recipe for me becoming frustrated, for example, is people not respecting my time so much, right? So people turning up for coaching late, or wanting to leave early, or essentially just wanting to spend the entire time bitching and whining and moaning. And I'm okay for a little bit of that, but I get frustrated by somebody who only just wants to talk about how bad their life is, how shit things are. Okay, so if I know that and I consistently see that in a coaching client, I can say, hey, this is the wrong fit for me. What are your biggest frustrations? Okay, and again, don't put it out there to the client. Like, put it here on yourself, because you don't know the client, and you don't know all their traits, and you don't know all the stuff that's going on in their life, and you don't know what just happened to them on the way in. But you do know yourself, and you do know your traits and your patterns, and the things that make you fearful, and the things that make you frustrated. And so, what are your dreams and desires for how coaching should be? Like, what is the ideal coaching scenario for you? Well, like, if you imagined, like, my dream client is like this, and it's not because of the client, it's about your coaching experience, and what's your greatest desire for your coaching experience, and by extension, what's your greatest dreams and desires for your life? Like, what should your life be like as a coach? Again, if you get really clear on these things, you can forget about the clients themselves, and you can focus on you, and you can say, hey, this is what I'm looking for, my experience. In other words, this is how I want to feel as a coach. And so because I know how I want to feel as a coach, these are the things that I've got to start thinking, and these are the things I've got to start saying, and these are the things I've got to start doing in order to attract these people. And once again, we have a tendency to put it all out there, like the client must be like this, and the client must think this way, and the client must say these things. Put it on yourself, turn it back, turn it around, and ask what your dreams, your desires for how coaching in your life should be. And suddenly, you start to find the right people coming into your life, rather than having to go out there looking for them. Okay? And then, so based upon those questions, right? So, what are your biggest fears as a coach? And around coaching, what are your biggest frustrations? What are your dreams and desires for how coaching in your life should be? Based on the answers to that, now answer, who am I not ready to coach right now? And remember, this isn't a, for the rest of my life, I'm never going to coach these people, but based on right now. So you might say, I'm not ready to coach people who are all about dotting the I's and crossing the T's and want me to provide 1,000 research papers, or who want to get caught up in a big debate, or whatever it happens to be. I'm not ready to coach those people. And as soon as you know who you don't want to coach, suddenly the big wide world of coaching opens up to you, and you get a much cleaner, clearer, if you want to put it that way, a more filtered client base of people that you are ready to coach. Because by default, if you get rid of everybody that you know you're not ready to coach, not all those people that aren't ready for coaching, right? Forget that story. Focus on, who am I not ready to coach? Suddenly everything opens up for you. Okay, so I just wanted to add this in there because this was actually supposed to be part of my Mind Map 2 program. I didn't quite close the program out like that, but as I've been thinking about it today, I really wanted to share that both with kind of the Mind Map 1 group, but also just kind of fitness marketing made simple in general. I think it's something useful from a marketing perspective, but it's kind of unusual because it's got nothing to do with the client directly. The thing is not the thing. Spitting all over the computer. The thing is not the thing, right? So focus on yourself. Who am I not ready to coach? What are my biggest fears? What are my biggest frustrations? What are my dreams and desires as a coach? And as soon as you get the answers to that, suddenly all the right clients are going to start showing up in your life. So this has been me, Dax Moyer from Fitness Marketing Made Simple, Dax Fit Life, Fit System Training, and 10 billion other places. I hope you found this useful. Speak to you soon.